Welcome back, Gems, to another wonderful episode of the Grateful Gem podcast. I am your host, Jasmine Shannelle, and today we are talking about second chances. Stick around because gems are definitely about to be dropped and you don't want to miss out. Stay tuned. What's up, gems? I am so happy that you are tuned in to this episode. We are here on another episode number 49, and I just want to be the one to point out that I have been consistent since the last episode. So give your girl a round of applause. I'll wait. Okay, let's carry on. All jokes aside, you guys, I'm super excited about not only this episode, but I have a lot of things that I want to go ahead and just let you guys know before I get into this episode. So the first thing is, I don't know if you guys are already following the podcast on Instagram and you like us on Facebook, but if you are, then you already know this information. However, if you aren't, then it's news to you. So what I've decided to do is, once I put out an episode, I'm also going to create a playlist. So this playlist is going to be from Apple Music and Spotify. So I'm going to make two playlists just in case you don't have Apple Music. You can still download it and listen to it on Spotify, and it'll help you get through your week. I've already posted one for last week. It's called Confident because we talked about being under pressure. Of course, if you have not heard the last episode, I highly advise you to pause this one and go back. Again, the playlist is already created. It is only on Apple Music as of right now, and I'll get another one made for Spotify for our Android users, or even if you don't have Apple Music. So I'm super excited about that. So I'm going to be doing those once a week, and it'll help you get through your week. And to be honest, you guys, I have been playing that playlist about every day, all day. I was frustrated earlier. I'm just being real. I was frustrated. And I was like, you know what? Let me sit here and work on some stuff and play my playlist. So I've been really playing it. So I hope it blesses your day as much as it blessed mine. Because like I said, I was frustrated. It has been a long day. But that's the first announcement. The second announcement is I created a blog website. I have that link in my bio on Instagram, on my personal Instagram and the podcast Instagram. So if you are a person that's into reading blogs and just keeping up with information, I do have a blog website out there. For you. So everything you need to know is on there, and that will be updated as the podcast is updated as well. What else? Also, if you guys are on Twitter, I don't know if you are big social media people, but if you are, we have just created a Twitter page for the podcast. I haven't uploaded anything yet, but you can always go on there. It's at Jasmine Shannelle, and that's linked on the blog site as well. You can follow that link and follow us, and we will follow you back so that you can be in the know for the podcast. Deep breath. Let me think. Is that it? Told you guys about the playlist. Told you guys about the blog site. Told you guys about Twitter. I think that's it for now. Those are really some exciting things, though. I'm really excited about the playlist because, like I said, I've already been playing that playlist 1,000,001 times. So I really hope that it blesses your life as much as it blessed mine. So enough of me babbling on. Let's get into this episode. So as you heard in the intro, this episode is going to be about second chances. So as you can see, the title of the episode is called Second Act. So there's a movie that came out in 2018 called Second Act. The main character, of course, is J-Lo. Some J-Lo. I'm still Jimmy from the block. But anyway, y'all, I'm super excited. But what was I saying? Yeah, J-Lo. She is the main character. So basically, just giving you a runaround, quick summary if you have not seen the movie so that you get a background of this movie. I'm also going to place a trailer in the notes just in case you want to see what I'm talking about. So, again, the movie is called Second Act. It's a romance or a rom-com. It came out in 2018. J-Lo is the main character. She's basically a mom, not a mom. She is a mom, but she gave her daughter up for adoption. And so she works at this supermarket, her and her friends, and she has her 43rd birthday, and her godson tells her to make a wish. And so he asked her, well, what did you make a wish about? And she was like, I just want to be able to make it. I want to be able to not just be judged by my resume, because she was looking to get a promotion at this supermarket. However, she was passed up because according to her resume, she wasn't qualified. And I know I can vouch and say that I've been through that. So I know how it felt when she went through that. Anyways, so yeah, and then her godson, what he did was he basically recreated her. He created her a Facebook page, an Instagram, all these different websites, created her a resume, photoshopped a whole bunch of pictures, and basically reinvented her and got her a super duper top position at an agency. I think it was like a makeup industry, if I'm not mistaken, or like a hair product. It was some kind of beauty product brand. And so anyways, one of the CEOs was one of the guy that adopted her daughter, and her daughter was, of course, one of the major people there. They got to be close. And at the end, the dad tells her, hey, this is your mom. They reconnect or whatever. And, it's just a good story. And it's basically just talking about a second chance, being able to do things over, have a fresh start, and come out with a better solution. And so I was watching this movie because I really love this movie. It came out in December of 2018, and I remember I wanted to see it because I seen the previews, because at that moment in my life I was like, I'm frustrated. I want to say I had just moved. Yeah, I did. I had just moved back from Atlanta. I moved back in 2018 because I stayed there for a year, and I moved in 2017. So yep, I had just moved back, and I was getting ready to move into my own place. And I remember telling my homegirl, like, hey, I saw this movie. I think it'd be good for us, because we both were at a point where we were trying to make things better for ourselves. We had been through some rough times, and especially when it came to our careers, the things that we wanted to do is not what we were doing, and it just got frustrating. And so I saw the preview for this movie, and I was like, listen, when this movie come out, I want to see it. Long story short, we never saw it until like maybe that next year. It went on, I want to say Hulu, and I watched it and I fell in love because I was like, God, this is a great story. And so today, what I'm going to be referencing is basically, having your life as a second act, being able to wake up, restart your life, of course, not falsifying information, but just having a better outcome. And I'm so excited about this topic because it reminds us of, no matter how many times we mess up in a day, there's 1,440 minutes in a day, right? And 24 hours in a day. Do you know how many times in that time frame that we make mistakes? Exactly. That's how many. We make a lot of mistakes, and God continuously forgives us. His love is everlasting. And I thought about Matthew 18:21-22, when Peter came to Jesus and asked him how many times should he forgive a person once they sin against him. And he was asking, up to 7 times, because Jesus said, 7 times 70 or whatever. And he referenced that as to like, so I have to sit here and count 7 times in a day to forgive this person. And so God replied, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times, or 70 times 70. Yeah, 7 times 70. I don't know why it says 77 times. Different translations. But I know it says 70 times 70. But when you think about it, God's not saying you have to forgive somebody 490 times. He's basically saying there's no limit to how many times in a day that you can be forgiven. And there's no limit to how many times in a day that you should forgive someone else who sinned against you, because you sin against my will. You go against my commands all the time, and I forgive you. And sometimes we get so caught up in the ashamedness. Is that a word? We get so caught up in shame, is what I wanted to say, and we lead ourselves away from God. We pull back because we feel like, oh, I've gone too far this time. I've made a huge mistake. God will never forgive me. When all in reality, we know that that's not true, because the word says that God's love for us is unconditional, although we operate on a love that is conditional. And it's a great topic for me because I'm actually in a point in my life where I'm still working on healing. I'm still working on forgiving others. And so when I thought about this movie, I thought about, as hard as it is, I want to forgive. But sometimes it gets so hard because you're constantly reminded of what someone did, or they're still doing the things to sin against you. And you're like, God, I'm supposed to forgive them. How do I supposed to forgive this person when they still doing it in this very moment that I'm considering forgiving them? And that's actually the story of my life, because I was sitting here and I was getting ready to write a text message. I'm going to be real. And I was getting ready to write a text message out, and I got to like a half of a paragraph, and I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. Like I told you guys in the last episode, we have a lot of trials and tribulations that we go through, but we fight the wrong way. We have to fight our battles in prayer and with God. And sometimes it's hard because our mind just tells us to react, go off your feelings. And I'm a big person that goes off of their feelings. And so in that moment, like I said, I was frustrated. I was frustrated earlier with my son because he would not go to sleep, you guys. He fights his sleep so hard, and it frustrates me because I'm like, I have to get stuff done. Sometimes it takes me an hour to 2 hours to put him to sleep. And then when I put him to sleep, he lays down for 30 minutes and then he's back up. And I'm like, dude, and he's still sleeping. I try to let him stay up, but then he's like, no, I'm sleepy, but he don't want to lay down. And so I laid him down at like 8, and then he got back up at 8:30, and he literally just went to sleep maybe at 11 something. I'm like, dude, I was frustrated because I was trying to get some stuff done, trying to eat my dinner, trying to just take some time to myself. And I was finna text his dad and tell him how I felt because he's out of town working. And I'm just like, see, this is why I didn't agree to that. And you know how we do. And so I said, you know what? I wrote that text message and I literally played my playlist. And I played that Fred Hammond song, Bless. And I played Corinne Hawthorne, Speak to Me, because I'm like, Lord, I need a word in this moment because I'm frustrated. And I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to do. And then I thought about it. I said, yes, I do. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. The 5 things that I told you guys to do in the last episode. So I came in here. I sat in my chair once I put my son to sleep. I sat down, turned on the TV, put it on mute. And then I played my playlist. And then I sat down and I started journaling. And I just started telling the Lord how I felt. And it's not nothing long because I'm like, I was frustrated. So I didn't have much to say that was good. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to act out on my feelings, but I am going to be real because me and God have a relationship where I can come to him and be my whole self and say how exactly I feel and what I need from him. So I told him how I felt, and I told him what I felt was in my ability, and I asked him to change my situation. And so in that moment, it didn't immediately make me feel better, but I felt better because I didn't give in to my feelings. And then I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and put this episode out because I think this is a great topic. Like, here I am in a moment because literally the first sentence of my essay or half essay to him was, I just want to tell you, I want to forgive you, but I can't. And I was just like, that's not what God does. God doesn't do that to us. He doesn't say, oh, you know, you did this thing that I told you not to do and you knew it was wrong, but I want to forgive you, but I can't. God doesn't do that. God says, your sins have already been paid for. You're not perfect. You're human. Don't ever forget that and always come back to me. And even when we don't come back to God, he still forgives us, you know, even when we don't take the time out to say, God, I know what I did was wrong. I know that you told me not to do it. I did it anyway. I'm sorry. The consequences are not good. Even when we walk around like everything is okay and we have not asked for forgiveness and we walk around holding things over other people's head when we're not even deserving of the forgiveness that God gives to us. And it just made it, I'm telling you guys, I sat here and I was like, you know what, Jasmine? You're doing your best, and that's all you can do, and you just gotta let God do the rest. Even though it's frustrating, you know, it's really frustrating. And so it's crazy because, like I said earlier, our minds are so used to easily reflecting off of how we feel. So in that moment, I was willing to act off how I felt. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing that because I know that in that moment, it's not going to end good for him because I'm going to smoke him, you know? And I'm like, this is what I told you before. You did what you wanted to do, and now I gotta pay for it. That's my favorite line. I need to stop saying that. But it's true, though. People do what they want to do, and then the consequences not only affects that person, but it mostly affects us, and we have to deal with the consequences because that person isn't here to deal with it. And so in that moment, I was just like, I'm frustrated, God. I'm frustrated. And so, again, I thought about, let me just sit down and give this thought a second chance. Let me take the time out to just do and be a hearer, not only a hearer, but a doer of God's word. And I may not get it right every time. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all and say, oh, every time something happens, I'm going to do this. Because at that moment, I stopped and thought. Sometimes I get so upset when I just boom, 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 boom. Stuff just come out my mouth and I'm like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that. And then I'm ashamed because it's like, yeah, I meant it, but I didn't mean to say it in that way because I was acting out of feelings. I could have said it better. Or I could have just took it to God and not said anything, because 9 times out of 10, me telling you that, even in the nicest way, probably wasn't going to help you. And so I think that a lot of times we hold ourselves to this standard where we just have to be perfect. And like I told you guys on the last episode, I have like a slightly imposter syndrome to where it feels like nothing is good enough. And so when I sat here and I wanted to tell this man how I felt, I was like, you know what? He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. I may not 100% understand, but I'm going to take it to God. And we have to think about when we do stuff, we're supposed to be walking around this world Christ-like. We're supposed to be reflections of God. We're not God, of course. No, I'm not saying that. We're not God. But we should be an image of God, of what Christ is like, right? So I had to think about, is me going off on him? In my emotions, is that Christ-like? Or is the opposite of what I did Christ-like? And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do this every time, because sometimes I just don't have the capacity to have this time to think of those things. But I'm proud of myself for taking the time now to say, okay, let me take a second and see how this is going to play out. Do I respond off my feelings, or do I respond the way God wants us to respond? And am I able to forgive this person for making a decision that was best for them, even though I felt like it wasn't best for our situation? And like I said, literally, the first words of my sentence was, I want to forgive you for everything, but I can't. And I imagine, what if God told us that? What if God said, you know, Jasmine, you've prayed to me about this for years. You've prayed to me and you've asked for forgiveness. And even though I know that you may sincerely be sorry, you sinned yesterday. And so with that, I just can't forgive you. And I said, what if I could wake up and reset my mind and have a better outcome? And I really feel like that's what happened. I feel like I did a second act right then and there. Like I said, you ain't going to get it right every time because your mind is used to how you handle things. But if you can, take a second to be slow to react and faster to listen. Listen to what God is telling you. Even when people are talking, listen to hear what God is telling you to do. Because 9 times out of 10, God is going to tell you and guide you through that thing exactly the way you need it to. And I know you may get frustrated. I know you may get upset. But when you handle it in God's way, I'm telling you, the outcome will be so much better. And like I said, I feel great. And that's probably why I'm so excited here, because I did a good gesture. I saved that man a good cussing out. I'm going to be real. I spared him. And I thank God that he spares me every time that I mess up, or every time I do something that he tells me not to do, because it's not beneficial to me or him. It's not going to help me get to where he's taking me. So I have to keep reminding myself to do a second act. Reset your mind, reset your spirit, reset your soul, and take time and say, God, listen, I need help. I need you to help me through this. How should I react? Teach me not to react off my feelings or an impulse, but be slow to act, quick and slow to respond, and quick to think. And I think, I know that's my biggest problem. I'm quick on my feet. When somebody says something that hurts me, I'm back at you 10 times worse, even if it hurts you. That's just my reality. So like I said, for me to have done that, I feel great about it, even though the situation is still the same. But that's one more prayer that I've prayed to God. And I've written it down, and I've sung my worship songs, and I'm believing that God is going to turn that thing around. How? I don't know. I know it may not get done tomorrow. And tomorrow I may be in another situation where my son is fighting his sleep and I may be frustrated. But in that moment, I have to decide, what are you going to do? And if I do mess up, I have to remember that God gives us a second chance. He gives us a chance to start over fresh and have a different outcome. He gives us that 24 hours in a day. He gives us that 1,440 minutes a day. So if we made a mistake for every minute in the day, God gives us that same minute to reverse it and to say, God, I'm sorry. I turn back to you. I give myself back to you and I ask you, what should I do? So that's all. That's all I got for y'all today. I'm like I said, I'm gonna put a trailer of the movie in the episode notes just in case you want to watch it. It is on Hulu. I think it's on Amazon. I don't know, but I watched it on Hulu. I love this movie. And like I said, I just tied it back to God and how He gives us a second chance and He forgives us over and over and over. And He blesses us over and over. And He speaks to us over and over, even when we're not deserving. And this person, she reset herself. She reinvented herself. A lot of it wasn't true, but she admitted it in the long run. She said she pronounced herself. It was embarrassing. I'm sure it was uncomfortable. You just found your daughter that you had to give up because you weren't ready. And here you guys have this great relationship. She's lifting you up, thinking you're this great person that's been all around the world. And you haven't done any of those things. So she had to be accountable for the consequences that came with how she continued to let what her godson did for her, which he had a good mindset, but he didn't realize how far it could have went. And she finally said, I haven't done any of those things. I don't have a degree and I don't have a diploma. I have a GED and whatever else. And she had to stand in front of millions of people and admit that. And her daughter, of course, it was basically, I want to forgive you, but I don't know how to, and I can't. And then eventually, she forgave her, but I just think that is a great analogy because it's real. Like, you can take that and apply it to your life in so many different, I can apply it to my own life in so many different ways. But again, I'm super excited. I hope you guys are excited about the playlist just like I am. Like I said, there's already one out there called Confident. It is on Apple Music as of right now, and I'm going to make one for Spotify. And I'll put those links in my bio on Instagram. I'll also link them here in the podcast just in case you're not on social media, because I don't really do social media like that, but I do it to keep you guys in the know for the people that want to know. But I am done with this episode. I hope it blessed you the way it blessed me. I hope you have a different outlook on it the way I had. And again, watch the movie if you can. It was a good movie in my opinion. And I will see you on the next episode. Keep shining as the gems you are.